So there you go. There's a little bit of an introductory, a little bit of some sharing that we have been able to introduce you guys with and to do with. To expand on this a little bit, I'd like to share a little bit as well on what both Wade and Isabel said. So with Isabel, I really connected with what she said with the repetition. So I'm extremely strong in this subconscious thought process and creating a very strong belief at a subconscious level because of the fact that there is most of what we do on a daily basis is run by our subconscious, and that includes what we believe and how we see things, how we see ourselves, how we see relationships, how we see failures, how we see success, how we see money, how we see our parents, how we see everything, and including how our body is being run, is all done at a subconscious level, and very little is actually done at a conscious level. But yet our conscious level can very easily stop us dead in utilizing the full potential of our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind has got one job, and that job is to take whatever it receives and produce that into a reality, into a physical reality. So that's what creates where we are, our very being, and that is what's going to end up creating our future. And to be able to teach our children the importance of understanding how our minds work, how the subconscious mind works and the conscious mind works, gives them power. It gives them the power to be able to literally do and create what they want at a very impactful position. But the subconscious mind isn't the type of mind that knows the difference between right and wrong. It doesn't know the difference between jokes and not a joke. And that's why it's so important that we teach each other and we teach our children what goes in is important. Because you can say things like, I can't do that, when you really know that you can do that, but your subconscious mind doesn't realize that you actually know what you can do. It just hears that you can't do it. It takes it as truth. And when you on the repetitive notion, to come back to what Isabel had said at repeating, it's whatever we hear, say, write, read on a repetitive basis that goes into our subconscious mind, that our subconscious mind will take in and say, okay, this is what I see, this is what I hear, this is what I read, this is what I've written consistently, this must be true. And if this is the truth, then this is what I'm going to create for this person. That's what it does. And we believe that at a subconscious level. And there's actually lots of research out there to prove this. I was actually just talking to an individual in Niverville, Manitoba, who is my massage therapist, who was introduced to a life coach through one of his clients who had been on TED Talk. And she had told him about some of this one university that had done an actual study and had done several of these studies in a consistent basis to really just start to understand the power of our subconscious mind and the power of the belief at a subconscious level. Because being repetitive is one thing. having the repetitive thought is one thing, but it's the belief at the subconscious level that is really the fuel to our subconscious mind. And so what he had told me, and I can potentially get this information and this documentation of this actual research and this study that was done. And what they did, if you're familiar with the placebo effect, so they took 100 individuals that had knee problems, that needed knee surgery, okay? And they've done this multiple times, but every 100, they broke them up into groups of 50. One group would get surgery for real, the real surgery on their knees. Every single person that had the surgery, they had a gray screen that went in between them and the doctor, and then the screen would show they would be kept awake, but they would be given anesthetics so that they couldn't feel the surgery, and they would be able to watch the doctor doing surgery on their knees. And they did that for 50 of them. The other 50, they had the same gray screen, they had the same doctors on the other side of it, but instead of actually doing the surgery on their knees, they showed the recording of the other 50 being done on these 50's knees. And all they did was they would make 3 incisions on the knee and stitch it back up, but they would not do the surgery. They would not actually physically do the surgery on the knees. They just showed the surgery being done, and the patients thought what they were seeing, they believed what they were seeing was the surgery being done on their actual knees. And by having the 3 incisions on their knees, it made him believe that the surgery was actually done. Every single time they did this, all 100 of these patients recovered exactly the same, and all 100 walked out without having any knee problems afterwards. Every single time. This is the power of our mind at a subconscious level. But we get stuck in the conscious part, thinking that's all that exists, but it's not. It's a very small part. And that's why it's so important that we are very careful and very mindful on an intentional level on what we teach our children about their own minds. Because from the time that you're in, from the 3rd trimester to the time you are about 7 or 8 years old, your conscious brain, your conscious mind is not fully developed. The only thing that is really taking in all the information is your subconscious. And it takes in everything. It's a sponge. It absorbs everything, not just what your parents say, but what other people in your family are saying, your siblings, your grandma, your grandpa, your teachers, the radio, the TV, the music that your parents listen to as you're driving. It all goes in. Everything goes in, and your subconscious will take the stuff that is repeated the most and it will take that as its truth. And it's set by the time you're about 7, 8 years old. So, as intentional parents that know this, we have the opportunity to create and empower our children to be able to reprogram their subconscious at a subconscious level based on mindfulness and mental health, emotional intelligence and emotional skills, so that they can take control of this. because there are going to be lots of things that goes in there that us as parents, we just not going to be able to filter it. We just physically cannot filter everything. So this is just some of the things that is extremely fascinating. And it's very real. Whether you believe it or not, this is law. And this is not human law. This is natural law, like gravity. You can deny it all you want. You can pretend it doesn't exist, but it exists. There are ways to use the law of gravity to our advantage, and such as flying, but we cannot break it. And so to be able to use this law to our advantage and to instill it into our children and at a family level, at a relationship level, is just unbelievably amazing. Unbelievably amazing. And there are many books out there that support this. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill talks a lot about the mind. The Power of the Subconscious. Oh, who wrote that one? I'll have to figure that one out. It was just mentioned to me the other day. He also talks a lot about it. Bob Proctor talks a lot about this type of stuff. Isabel, did you want to expand on that or share a little bit more on that as well?
Yeah, first of all, I loved your story with the surgery. I've never heard that before. And wow, like what a powerhouse that, especially, and I wrote something down when you talked about the subconscious, because I think we often think that just by positive thinking, or then I can, overcome, especially as an adult, because if you early on, you already learn how to, I can rephrase that and I can be powerful, or I'm lovable, I'm this and that. And as an adult, it's so ingrained already, because I have an example, obviously. I was doing the Miracle Morning for quite some time, and in the beginning it felt good, doing all the exercises, how he outlined it in his book. And the way I am, I have to be very structured, so I would do it exactly how he said, even though he wrote in his book, everybody can have their own way of doing it, blah, blah. No, I had to stick exactly what he said, right? And then, because I didn't really go this step further into I don't even know how to describe it, but it was again on a very conscious level. I'm going to do this, and this is how it's going to be. And I got so upset with myself, and I hated the process so much that I no longer wanted to do it. And so I think that the step that I realized, first of all, nobody has all the answers, and you have to figure it out for yourself and experience it for yourself. And there was a great experience for me, because I realized, I'm again so rigid, and it has to be this way, and that's not what this all is about, I think. And I had to go a step further to actually see that all these negative thoughts that I've been thinking since I was a child were still running in the background. And to kind of let them go through journaling and things like that. There's still some coming up, but that's what I wrote down when you talked about the subconscious, because it's, the conscious is just maybe 10%, I have no idea, or even less. And what else is going on, we have actually no idea. So yeah, thanks, that was very powerful. Thank you.
Beautiful, Shara. Thank you very much.